Electricast. Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with Dr. Dee Haney, fondly known as Dr. D. Dr. D is the embodiment of genuine grace, profound wisdom, and exceptional communication as a renowned speaker, author, facilitator, and minister. A champion of true authenticity in a world fueled by the artificial, Dr. D has her finger on the pulse of positivity and boldly pushes those in under her wing into their purpose through various avenues of excellence. Gifted and grounded, she is a phenomenal orator, and her gentle yet persuasive and practical communication style allows her to relate to a plethora of diverse crowds. A highly sought-after keynote speaker, Dr. D has wowed audiences nationally at events and conferences held at major corporations, elite schools, local government entities, as well as nonprofit and faith-based organizations. Her powerful message is rooted in her core belief that authenticity is my identity, and she fiercely encourages freedom of expression. I'm excited to talk with Dr. D today, so let's get started. Welcome, Dr. D. It's great having you on the show today.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm excited. I'm just so excited to be on your show. Thank you once again.
Well, thank you for being here. Before we dive into your current work, I like to begin my episodes by having my guests share a little bit about their early experiences. Could you share with us some highlights from your childhood and your journey to where you are today without going too deeply into what you do? And then we'll explore what you're currently doing today.
Oh, man, my childhood, as my mom would say, I'd say that I was a very inquisitive child. My mom just said you were just nosy. So I'm a very inquisitive individual. I was the type of child, I'm the youngest of a blended family of 7. So I'm curious. I want to know, and you just can't tell me anything because I'm going to ask you why. Why? You know how the toddler stage, why? So to this day, as it has become as an adult, I still ask that question. So it's one attribute that really stands out about myself that I notice. I'm going to ask the question, why? Now, they ask me, I mean, I give you an answer, but I will ask those questions. And so that has been a benefit for me to be able to ask those questions because it has helped me to now come out of a shell and to be able to explore other people and just to find out how they move and how their background is and how we can pretty much kind of align with each other. I just love people and just being around that. And so questioning at a young age, getting to know people, their background, their experiences, and then be able to share minds and then see how we can make this world a better place. That's just how I am.
I love that. And you have such great energy. I really love that. I think from the moment we met, we are recent connections, but I love the fact that through social media, you can meet such incredible people. And I really loved your energy when we first met and again today. So I'm excited to get started with the core of this podcast today, what we're going to talk about. So your core belief is authenticity is my identity. You've trademarked this. Can you share with us what authenticity means to you and why it's so crucial in today's world?
Well, Leslie, it's crucial because I've been in corporate America. I'm not down in corporate America, but I've seen the code switching. I've seen where people can't really be who they are in their own space without fear of judgment. And so that goes back to the psychological safety part of everything, right? Dr. Amy Edmondson talked about that a whole lot. That's her whole theory. And so I could not understand it. And I did not know the real term as a per se when I was, doing my research through school and all this, but now getting a total grasp of that. And I was like, wow, because I'm going to be who I am. And so being in corporate America, you tend to, or even in life in itself, Leslie, you tend to feel like you're in a box and that you can't be expressive as to who you really are. And so what I had to learn how to do was come out of my own box, come out of this caged that I was in of myself, get out of my own way, embrace who I am, what I bring to the table. And that's just being genuine and authentic D. That's all I know how to be. I'll get confused trying to be someone else. And so I give that message to women, particularly because we as women, we tend to want to stay. If I don't say anything, and if I don't do anything, I'll do this. No, if you're being who you are, and you're sincere about who you are and what you bring, that's your authenticity. Because you're going to have to keep up a role for so long. And somewhere along the lines, it may trip up or you may forget. So just being who you are, that's your identity. Like you said, I love your energy. This is who I am. Sometimes I think I go over, my energy is so high, but that's just who D is. That's just my DNA. I just have a high energy. I remain positive, even in the midst of my chaos in my world. I'm trying, and I always ground myself with my faith and being optimistic. It's going to get better, D. It's going to get better. Even when I just want to do this, it's going to get better. But at the same time, that's how I just move. Authenticity is my identity. And I was just sitting here thinking, I was like, that is me. I'm going to be who I am. And so when I speak with women, speak to women, I tell them and I ask them, I say, who are you? And they start giving me a description of their jobs. No, I didn't ask you what you do. Who are you? And so I want them to embody who they really are. And my grandmother had to always ask me that because I had a low self-esteem at one point. Can you believe it? And she asked me, she's like, who are you? And I was like, she's like, no, I didn't ask you what you do. Who are you? And so that resonated with me to say, who am I? And so that's how I feel. And that's how I really came about that authenticity is my identity. Being who
I
you are.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love it because I feel like it really can feel really hard at times to just embrace who you are without all the labels either that have been put on you or that you've given to yourself.
Right.
So it's such a great question, like, who are you without
Mm-hmm.
everything else? And that can be really super hard. I think it's also almost as hard as the question of what do you want? I think that's even that's a hard question, but to ask who are you, like who am I, can be really really challenging. I think because you start looking at all the labels that you have, and you think that that's where you are identified as. This is like you're
Right.
a wife, you're a mom, you're a sister, you're a daughter. You might be a grandparent, or you are a businesswoman. And those are just things that we do, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not there. Who are we to the core? So I love that this is like your ideal, like what you talk about, and which
Right.
leads me into what you do. So you have a ministry, Chosen
Mhm.
LLC, which stands for Cultivating Helpful Opportunities for Sisters Through Empowered Networking. It focuses on the mind, heart, and soul. So, how do you integrate these elements to help your clients or people that you work with grow spiritually and build a deeper relationship with God? And what has this organization that you've built had on the women you've mentored?
Man, this has chosen came out of a ministry. It was for little girls called Precious Jewels. And so that was a self-esteem program for young girls. And so they grew up to be young women, and so that then spurred over into me praying about it. And I was like, and I was telling my mom, I was like, no, it's just something I got to do because I was teaching Sunday school. And so seeing the women from diverse backgrounds and socioeconomic situations, not only are they coming in there for a lack of spirituality, their spiritual growth, but they needed life skills. And so I'm able to integrate life skills into what I do as of teaching the word. And so I'm more of an application type of facilitator, so to speak. And so I bring real world into how it is played out in the Bible. And so that helps them to be able to understand where I don't talk high level, but I bring them up to a level where they can start saying, let me go and read for myself. And I can identify with some of those women that are in that Bible that went through some heartache, but at the same time, they came through that. And that could be possibly me. May not be my name, but I can resonate with them in some type of way. And so by integrating those two, they're able then to be able to say, hey, I can do this. I'm taking baby steps. and my spiritual walk, but at the same time, I'm feeling good because I can go out here confidently and apply for a job, confidently have the interview. Even if I don't get it, I felt good about doing it. Because when I see them, Leslie, they're sometimes at a low point, and I'm not saying I'm the magic wand, but at the same time, I can see the growth. And if I can reach at least 1 out of 15, I've done what I had to do, you know. But somewhere
Mhm.
along the line, we drop those seeds. And when you drop those seeds, then you look at how it grows, because we know when we plant a flower, it takes forever. A plant, it just takes forever. We go out there and see it, just like it ain't growing, but we never know what's up under that. That's stirring. And so that's what I look at with these ladies here. Just recently over here in Atlanta, some of the historical black colleges, all those students come to my church. And so I just grab them and just hold on to them and hug them and love them. And I go visit their colleges, they're playing games, basketball, whatever, to let them know that someone's there to inspire them, impact them in a positive manner, to let them know, hey, you're away from home, but I'm here for you and with you. And so being able to extend that part of chosen outside of the church, or so to speak, I started in my home. I started in my home. And I was like, and let me tell you, we as ladies, we love to eat. So if you have food and conversation, you got it. That's the magic potion. But at the same time, seeing that growth. And now you just never know. At this point, I never thought that I would be teaching seniors, the seasoned seniors. Never did I think or thought that I would be teaching that age group who could tell me something. But to hear how they have grown in their faith, how they're still growing in their faith, and how we apply application and word, that inspires me all in itself. It gives me the zeal, whether I'm tired or not. It gives me the zeal to push and say, Dee, someone's relying on you. You asked for this, you got it. What you gonna do with it? And I just go in there being who I am, my authentic self, and those are the results.
Yeah, I love that. I think, and I like the idea of chosen, because you're showing people that you are chosen to be here,
Mhm.
and you're important, and I want to be able to help you and
Mhm.
show you one. I love how God is part of this,
Mhm.
because I believe that he has to be a part of things in order, especially if you want things to be successful in a way that you're not worried about what's going to happen if something happens down the road. Something could happen in my business. Like if I don't have that relationship with God, am I going to fall apart? And knowing that he's with me every step of the way, which is such
Yeah.
a powerful thing to know, that just the knowing part of it all, just that alone, knowing that I don't have to go through it alone, having
Yeah.
him guide me, I can look to him for guidance, in surrounding myself with women like yourself, people in my community that have relationship with God, that understand that, this is important for this, and bringing what I feel is something that I've asked the question, how can I advance the kingdom of God through the work that I do? And I think that's what you're doing. You're advancing the kingdom of God through the work that you do. And so I started asking that question for myself. How can I do more of that? Because
Mhm.
everything I have is not because of what I've done, or
No.
maybe, I mean, yes, this, I've taken the steps because he said, do this, do that, here, go
Right.
this way, go that way. And yes, I've listened, I've been obedient and done those things, but it doesn't mean that it comes from me. And so I
Right.
really love that what you're doing is that you're taking that a step further, and you've created something to help people, to empower them, and going into the community even too. Community is so important. I think,
I know.
especially when you pour into it, right? So I love that
Mhm.
you do this.
And people say that they're
Definitely.
just like, how do you do it? My mother, it's like my sister and I, we're just like night and day. And
Mhm.
she's a true introvert. And I to an extent, but she's like, you're the vocal one, go there. I know you want to say something to him. And I was like, yeah, I gotta start talking. She's like, oh God, you know. And she's like, like it since you were a little girl. I was like, because she's the oldest. And I was like, yeah, I know, just like,
Mhm.
but you look back, Leslie, and it's just like, even with your calling, you look back and it's just like, I was doing that, but now it's more formal, you know. But it's something I tell people, if you enjoy it, it doesn't feel like a job, or it doesn't feel like you just do it. It just comes with me. And I'm just like, okay, and people like, how do you deal with that resistance if people don't want just just deal with it? Just like, okay, maybe not now. And then they'll come around, they'll eventually come
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, but it's true. You're right. You look back, and can look back, and I know that I've always been that go-to person that someone is coming to me for something. And I realized, okay, now I've formally come around to it, that I'm now doing this because this is the calling that he's had for me. But I just had to
Right.
I had to mature into the role, if you
Like
will. So I found that. So yeah. So your work, it spans many different environments. Nationally, as a highly sought after keynote speaker, you're wowing audiences from major corporations, elite schools, local government entities, nonprofits, and faith-based organizations. So how do you adapt your message of authenticity and empowerment to resonate with such diverse audiences?
first of all, you got to know your audience. First know your audience. Um, People read my bio, they know then that she's of the word. So there's, that's a no brainer. So that's your choice at that point to say, do I want to book her? That right there. But I'm not going to sway who I believe in. And so that right there is my foundation. So going into the corporate setting, I would say, just knowing your foundation there. I don't If I always ask the topic, what's your topic? What is your challenge? What are you trying to convey to your employees? What do you want your employees to know? What can I bring? What kind of benefit or what value do you want me to bring? Because I can bring the value. What do you? So I probe those questions. And so I asked them that. And they said, okay, this is what I want you to bring. So I know how to cater it to them, but I'm still who I am. My energy is still there. My message is still there. Just recently, I did a presentation and I love diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And so, the world is trying to erase that, because the world is diverse in itself. And so, talking about inclusivity, I knew that was my topic, and that's my mojo. It's just talking about that. And so being able to have those icebreakers, I have a lot of, I'll say hands on that I bring to the table because I want people to know how I operate in my space and I need to know how you operate in your space. And we're going to do some simulations and we're going to see this and how we can bring this together. And my faith-based, self-explanatory, faith-based, when I'm out here in the schools, the government, all the messaging is pretty much a foundational message, but at the same time, I know how to tweak it and cater it where it's still impactful. Because if you look at it, Leslie, my whole mantra, though, authenticity is my identity, I have a second phase of that. I positively inspire, impact, and influence all generations. And so that's my goal, is to do that in some type of way out of those three eyes. Somewhere along the line, I want you to be able to get that. And it's not about D. It's not about the title D holds. I'm just trying to be of service to better you as well as you're bettering me, because I'm learning just as much, because when I go in these different settings, it's always an aha moment. So I have my notepad and I'm still writing. I'm writing too. At the same time, I'm gleaning, they're gleaning. It's a two-way conversation. So it's just being able to really know your audience, know that you're grounded in who you belong in and who you belong to. And then just go in there confidently and just be who you are. Authenticity. Just be who you are. Be concrete in what you're doing. So that's how I do it.
I love that. And it's actually, I had someone earlier, she's been on my podcast a couple of times, but one of the things she says is knowing who you are and whose you are. And I
That's
love that.
right. Mhm.
But I love the fact too that you still learn even when you're in the middle of a signature talk, if you're speaking at an engagement, that there's still that learning mindset. You can learn from your audience,
Mhm.
because we can either go in there believing we have all the answers, or we can go in there and say, this is my thought process. This is what I've learned. This is what I can teach you. And even being open to being taught by someone back through their own aha moment, that you're like,
Mhm.
oh, I've never really had anyone have that experience before. And so that's taught me something new. So I
Right.
really like that. I like that
Thank
a lot.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, that's
So
just who I am. It's two-way. I was at a conference, spoke at a conference with six other phenomenal women, and just, we working alongside each other. What are you speaking on? And to hear their backgrounds and to hear what they brought to the table, that was something for me. I was like, "Yeah." And it takes a lot of humility to say you don't know. You know? So yeah, that
yeah.
that goes a long way with me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about you as an author. You've authored several highly rated books, including Caged in a Cubicle, Spiritual lessons, and it's time to own your truth, 31 days to get it done. What inspired you to write these books, and what key messages do you hope readers take away from them?
Now, I'm going to tell you about Cage in the Cubicle, Leslie. You're going to laugh about this. 2015, I was running for office here in my county, right? So I was invited to this luncheon. And so no one ever wants to feel left out. So the ladies were just talking about their books and stuff. And I was like, I was still in school with my PhD studies. And they were like, Dee, what's your book? Oh, Cage in the Cubicle. I hadn't put the spiritual lessons part of that yet. So I was like, Cage in the Cubicle. And they were like, oh, okay. Leslie, I had not written one page, right? So, but as a result, I was journaling. And so Cage in a Cubicle came about from me journaling. And Cage in a Cubicle came about my dissertation because I was studying some, and I didn't even know that until after I finished really reading it. I was like, this is my dissertation, you know? And so I was like, and then it came out of, get this, my own personal experience in corporate America. Because in corporate America, you're in a cube. And so I felt caged in. I had to learn some lessons, some spiritual lessons in that caged cubicle. And so it hurt. It was sometimes my own fault. And I own that 100% of what I did, others too, you know. But it was lessons that I had to learn from that. And I used to ask God, why am I going through this? And he said, why not? And just like you had said earlier, he's with us regardless of the storm. Look at the 3 Hebrew boys. He was with them in the fire furnace. So what makes you think he wasn't going to be with Dee in a cage cubicle? So that cage cubicle taught me some lessons. I mean, and I was going through that work. It was just like, you know, and then Leslie, to get this, when I was getting ready to, you know, I was going through it. I was sending copies because I was journaling, but I was typing out stuff. And I was just sending my thoughts to my email. So when I was time to compose it, I lost everything. I lost my thumb drives and everything. But I was able to recoup it because I was emailing myself. So I had to go and convert all this from Google Docs to Word to Kindle. I mean, all of that. I was like, but it was a lesson. Not only did I learn a lesson in corporate, spiritual lessons, I learned another lesson. Let me see how serious you are about what you destined yourself to do back in 2015. And here and now, 2017, 18, 20. Let me see if you're really serious, Dee. Lesson. And so God had to deal with me on that and having conversations with my mom and different people in my space. I was, like we said, I was learning from them. I was gleaning from them. I was writing down. I'm always having a notepad. I don't use my phone. I have a notepad, you know, and I'm writing and I'm just like, wow. And those lessons still to this day, when I get despondent and just feel like I just want to give up, I grab my book and I'm just reading like, wrote this, do it. And I'm like, okay. And so the other book, you know, it's time to get it done spiritually. That book there, my 31-day book, that's just a motivational book. But it was for me because every day I was like, it's time to do this, Dee. And I was in a coaching class and I was just writing, just always thinking and writing. And I was like, so every time I'm doing something, it's applicable to me. And I was like, he said, publish it. And I was like, okay. He says 31 days. And so finally believe people were buying the book and they're still buying it. And they were like, Dee, thank you for this. I'm going through this. And I was like, I was just doing it because I like writing, but it was something that had to get out. And so that, to sum it up, a result of my own personal experiences in corporate America. Through all my years of corporate America, I've been in corporate America over 35 years, over all my experiences in corporate, not one, just one job, but all of my experiences. And then that motivational book was just a result of me sitting in a coaching class. And every day at work, I was just writing something to lift my spirits, to lift my spirits. And then God just reversed it back to you and said, read everything that you've written, and I want you to do it. You talk about a lesson in itself.
I
So
love it.
that's how they came about.
I love it. And what I really love is that people don't realize, and I think this is where I think when people go into business, the whole avatar exercise can be really hard because they're trying to invent somebody that's not real to them.
Right.
And yet you can look in the mirror and your avatar is staring right back at you. You know, your previous version of you. So you are doing the work and creating something based on your experience. And now other people can now do the work because you've already done it. You've given them the roadmap to what you created for yourself and it worked for you. And now other people are getting to take advantage of that work. But again, it comes down to, and I always firmly believe this, when I finally push back on the norms of saying, pick your avatar. What is her age? Where does she work? Where does she live? Is she married? Does she have children? What magazines does she like? How does she dress? All of these things, great, great things, but I couldn't make up a person that I'd never met before. And when
Right,
I
right.
realized, start taking those questions and asking them to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do I like? How do I dress? What are the magazines I like to read? What are the things I like to do? And all
Right,
of those things, it helped me to create more and become more in tune with what I wanted to do. But
right.
it was hard, I think, at first. And I think that's where a lot of people, I'm going off topic just a little bit, but when it comes to creating a business is where I found a lot of people, they're not even like picking that authentic avatar, because it
Right.
comes back to authenticity. So I thought
Yeah.
I would just throw that in there too. So
But you know what, Leslie, to your point, and just like we said earlier, you said, Dee, you're looking at your avatar. That goes back to what my grandma said. Who are you? In the midst of all of that, who are you?
yeah.
Who are you doing all of this? Who are you? You say this is how you teach Sunday school. You teach the women about their faith. Who are you? Are you doing what you say you teach? So it's just like Michael Jackson, man in the mirror. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Walking that, when you're going to talk something, you have to walk what you talk. And I think it's so
absolutely.
important. You can't be something that you're not. You can't talk about something and expect others to embrace it if it's not something that you believe that you embody as part of your life. So I truly
Right.
love that.
Thank
So
you.
looking ahead, what are some of your goals for the future, both in your ministry and your broader efforts to inspire authenticity and empowerment in others?
To speak more and to be on those platforms where I can do those things a little bit more in a more free space without being confined. And then being able to publish more books, of course. And God has to give it to me because I'm like, I want to do this. And he's like, nope, I want you to do this. And I'm like, I want to write like he's like, nah, not yet. And I was like, okay. So just to be able to speak on those platforms to be able to do my three I's positively inspire, impact, and influence all generations, whether men or women, and I'm getting some men. Can you believe it? And so being able to do that and being able to just be able to just spread the word of God, being able to reach those individuals in the corporate space and let them know it's okay to be who you are in a psychological safe space. And make sure that employers are providing that, genuinely providing that space for them. When I say them, employees, and even amongst their own peers in leadership and management, because no one should have or should be like they are fearful to do anything because that word, and I'm guilty, will stop you in your tracks. And you can't be who you really are. If you're going to say, let me be my authentic self, then allow me to do just that. And so I have to just be true to who I am. Leslie, to be honest, I do a self critique and, I have to prune myself. And it's just like I get still, meditate. God said, this is what you did. This is what you need to work on. And just being true, because how can I not be true to who I am? Prune myself before I get out into an audience or any type of environment where I'm speaking. That's hypocritical to me. So I need to make sure D is right before I go out there. And so I have to do that, being, and also I didn't tell I'm an elected official. And so being an elected official, I have to make sure that I'm in place, that I'm, in a space where people see who I am. And, we're not always alike persons, but at the same time, I'm remaining true to who I am. So being able to help children, women, boys and girls and men, that's my whole mojo, and being able to write those books to be able to inspire someone else. And as you said, look at myself in that same space and realize, Dee, we all are, and knowing that God is with us, that's just how I live. And that's what I plan to do.
That's amazing. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for spending time with me today and sharing your powerful message of authenticity and empowerment. Your
Thank
ministry
you.
and your work is as a speaker and an author clearly are making a profound impact on so many lives. And your ability to connect with diverse audiences from corporations to nonprofits through your authenticity is truly impressive.
Thank
I
you.
will make sure, of course, I really love what you do. All of your contact information I'm going to be including in the show notes so listeners can follow your amazing work at Chosen and
Yes,
explore your books. Explore your books
yes,
like Caged in a
please.
Cubicle and It's Time to Own Your Truth. What you've provided today on spiritual growth, mentoring women, children, men, living genuinely will no doubt inspire many to embrace their true selves wholeheartedly. So again, thank you so very much for spending time with me today.
Thanks, Leslie. I appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. And to our audience, I hope Dr. D's words have sparked new determination within you to live authentically and boldly step into your purpose. Her journey shows that though the path is not always easy, liberating your true identity allows you to positively impact so many others. Let her story motivate you to peel back the layers, confront your fears, and shine your brilliant light. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Hi, it's me, Flo. Remember me from Ghost Hampton, the podcast? I was secretly in love with Lyle Hall. Well, now I'm dead and loving it. But let's talk about you. If you loved listening to Ghost Hampton, you can now spend the summer in the Hamptons. The original episodes are back, and now new episodes will be dropping every Friday. I may drop in too, just to make Lyle feel guilty. Ghost Hampton, the podcast, is now streaming everywhere.
Hi, everyone. I'm Geraldine Glass, a leader in the field of music as medicine, and I'm excited to share with you my newest release of healing sound, Pentatonic Visions, with Chris Scholler and Electrocast Records. Immerse yourself in ethereal realms where the harmonies of nature, tribal rhythms, and soundscapes blend with the crystal singing bowls. It's out now, streaming on all platforms.
Electrocast.